Over the years, I've been extremely lucky to somehow, through some accident of fate, have a number of amazing musicians in my life. I always wished I could be a musician. I really never was a producer. And in Worcester, in the Boston area, I ran into Cliff Goodwin and a whole bunch of amazing, talented people. We started making twisted tunes. And when we got to Seattle, the next phase of the Bob Rivers Show was the creation of the band Spike and the Impalers. And when we started the band, this gentleman came along, Dudley Taft. Dudley was, I think he was working down at Bad Animals or something, and he was just an amazing guitar player. And he had a ton of energy. And for, God, I don't know how many years, probably 10 years, he was on stage with us in some big venues. Now, since then, Dudley has gone on with his blues band to tour the world. There is so much interesting about Dudley, but before I get to telling you about it, let's just play a little Dudley Taft for you. Here's a video called, what is it called? I don't know. You'll figure it out. Here it comes. Oh, that is so good. Man, Dudley, that is such a power groove.
Thanks, man. Why'd you stop it before the solo?
It's so funny. On radio, like I would start to fade it out and I would do your introduction because it would be bumper music. I've got one more of your songs called Skin and Bones. I'll play the whole thing at the end. Normally when we play a video, by the way, we get flagged for copyright infringement. Is your stuff registered? Is Facebook going to point this out?
No, you should just say, "Oh yeah, okay," and let it do its thing.
We'll see what happens. Let's bring on our co-hosts for this evening, Mr. Spike O'Neill of Spike and the Impalers, and
Dudley. Since you're the artist, can we have permission, real quick?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Hold on, I got no sound, Bob. I got no sound. I'm gonna come back in.
All right, come back in. We've got Spike O'Neill over here from 97.3 Cairo News Radio. And my partner in Boston, Zip Zipfel, who, again, like yourself, came into my life as a musician when I was just a DJ trying to make parodies. And he's an incredible drummer, multi-instrumentalist. And I thought he'd appreciate what you do, Dudley. So you're meeting Dudley for the first time, right?
Yes, Dud, how are you? Good to meet you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, Spike will be back in just a second. But tonight, I want to find out a little more about this guy Dudley, because Dudley.
Can you hear me now, real quick, before we move on?
Set.
I believe that song is called "Digging Up Grandma" from the album "What Do You Mean I'm Not in the Will?"
Yeah. I thought that groove was so deep it should be called "Double Penetration." That's what I.
Oh. Well.
Hey, I did not just play a movie in your mind. You played it for yourself. So, okay. Dudley, let's just start to tell a little bit of your story. You were born a poor black child.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, where did you come from? You didn't start in Seattle, I don't think.
No, I was born in D.C., but only lived there for about 6 months until my dad decided to move back to Cincinnati. So I kind of grew up in Cincinnati in like sort of a golf club sort of suburb area. And luckily escaped when I was 9. I mean,
How do you escape when you're 9? I threatened
well,
to run away when I was 9, but I didn't get far.
well, I mean, so my parents got divorced when I was about 9 years old. So that's been kind of one of the things that sort of set my life up for being a rolling stone or whatever you have,
A
just
nomad.
constantly moving.
Yeah.
Because my new stepdad, so we immediately moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for 18 months, and then Houston, Texas for 18 months. And this is all like 19. Houston was amazing because they discovered rock before they knew what the hell was going on in Ohio or Philadelphia. I'll tell you that, because I'm immediately, it was like all the guys at school were listening to rock and roll, wearing bell-bottom pants, goody combs, feathered hair. This is 1979. Yeah, this is good times. And then somehow we had to move to Indianapolis, and so that was kind of a drag after going down to Houston, which was really actually kind of cool back at that point. But then I went to boarding school in Connecticut, college in California, and I lived there for 2 years after college. Then I moved to Seattle in 1990 until 2011. So
And
that's
from Seattle to Nashville, and Nashville back home to Cincinnati.
No, not Nashville. No, we went to Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. The South.
And that's another sidebar dealio on that.
Yeah, we're going to get to the South and how much you loved the people of the South. I think that'll go over well.
Oh, you'll see. You'll see the story.
Okay. So, are you a guitar player from a very young age? At what point, like you're born? And by the way, I did put it in the graphic. I think it's really cool that you're the direct descendant of the United States president. And to me,
that was Bill Clinton, right? During your mom's time in Washington.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I never asked about it, and we never talked about it. And I kind of wonder, is that even a thing to you, or does it have no effect on your life?
Well, actually, it's an interesting wrinkle. Okay, so obviously I had no say in moving away from when I was 9 years old, because half family had been here for ages.
Yes.
Okay? Generations, since the late 1800s. And so there was a reputation in town for being a Taft, and some were in politics and some were in business, and all were pretty well to do, and everybody was supposed to go to the Taft boarding school and Yale for college, and become a lawyer, and because everybody else had done that through the generation.
So the family, and by the way, some of this, I did do a little Wikipedia reading up on William Howard Taft. He went to Yale, born in Cincinnati, so that's your home base. He was, shall we say, on the right side of politics. And what I read, though, was some very interesting things about him. I read that he didn't really want to be the president. That was like his least favorite job. He wanted to be a Supreme Court justice. And he became president just because he was asked to do it as the most likely candidate to win, kind of like a Joe Biden kind of a deal. Is that her? Or am I like already with Wikipedia more interested than you are? I'm just curious.
So, there's a book called The Bully Pulpit, and it explains in the beginning of the book, sort of why he decided to be president. But honestly, to me, the more interesting things about him were that, number one, he helped the Philippines gain their independence. He worked really hard to, let them form their own democracy. And so that I find is interesting. Obviously, being a Supreme Court justice is, and pretty much, was
that ain't what it used to be, though. The Supreme Court justice thing, and last few years, that I used to get a lot more better tables at the restaurant than it does lately.
Yeah. You're exactly right. There's something going wrong. But whatever. I mean, he had several brothers, and I'm descended from one of them, the less remarkable of them, as it turns
Also,
out.
the thinner of them, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it's funny because when I moved to Seattle, I started growing a little hair down here because I was
Yeah.
here, and so I had just a little bit going, and then it kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. And my mom and my dad hated it and everything. And I looked at this picture of William Howard Taft and his brother Charles Phelps Taft and some other dude. They all have big fucking beards. I'm like, the fuck? I'm bringing it back.
Right.
No, you're
Right.
doing
We're
this.
on the cutting edge out here
It's
on the
I've
Pacific
always called
Northwest,
you. I've always called you ZZ Taft.
man.
So, and the beard is your trademark. All right,
Well,
so let's talk.
I like. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Well, all right. I mean, just finishing up on this huge. I guess I always figured if you were, descended from presidential timber, that there would be Secret Service around you. I guess after a few generations, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make any difference. Does it
But
affect?
if you drop your cocaine, Fox News will be all over your shit. Dudley.
I got to be careful of the files on my
Yeah.
Does having that history in your family affect how you look at the world, politically or globally, and civilization?
Definitely not politically. No. And look, I'm really a child of the West Coast because I went to college. I mean, I was there since I was like 17. And I lived there until I was in my early 40s or something. So I was there for a long, long time, and I'm not going to say that I'm like a lefty Democrat or whatever, but I've always kind of thought the answer was somewhere in the middle because, politics is really, really polarized and everything. But there are factions of my family with which, I do disagree. And one of the issues was the legalization of marijuana.
Yes.
There are our cousins that were involved, the governor, and he and his wife were against it, and my brother and I were for it for various reasons. And you can talk about the methods all you want, but we were of the generation where it's kind of like, dude, everybody smokes pot. Let's just try to make sure there are no weird chemicals in it, and it's harder for them to get, and make it so drug dealers can't make any money off of it. If we just do that, I mean, that's just not it's not like
there should be billboards everywhere and dispensaries on every corner. And
so
while
whatever
we're at
kind
it,
of politics,
let's charge 5 times as much for a cup of coffee and have a naked mermaid, and we'll do that too. You are ahead of your time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
In a very
sorry, I interrupted your train of thought. Go ahead.
No, I followed yours, and that's awesome. But no, and being back here in Cincinnati is a little different because some people may think of me as part of that, the older, family and stuff. But when I look like this, and it just instantly, it's okay. It's all good here.
All right. Well,
it's
cool.
a nice city.
And I'm going to do one more little clip because I searched for this today, and I thought it was really interesting. It's a famous audio clip. It's only a minute long of Howard Taft, and this would have been, he was president till about 1912, I think, 1911, 1912.
Yeah, 09 to 13 or 12. Yeah,
12, yeah. And so how you find those, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, those audio clips. I'm sure you must have heard this one, but I thought it was really heartwarming, so let's give it a little more.
Let's hear it.
I am willing to admit that war has accomplished much in the progress of the world. I'm willing to admit that there are certain crises in the forward march of Christian civilization that perhaps could not have been met in any other way than by the sword. I'm willing to admit that war develops certain heroic traits in men and furnishes a test for the evidence of the highest character. Perhaps, too, it trains and disciplines people. But the other side of the picture justifies the prayer of every man, of every civilized man, that war should be abolished, and that the suffering, cruelty, corruption, and demoralization that follow in its train should be, as far as we can bring it about, lifted as a burden from the human race. It is our duty to take every legitimate and proper step we can to persuade the nations of the world to settle their controversies in some other way.
Ah,
Yeah.
That was on the eve of World War I, too. So
yeah. No,
Yeah,
5 years later, we'd be in World War One.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Well,
But
I mean, very sane, a very sane character. And I think, the Republican Party back then was a much, much different one than it is now. Where, we wanted to just, hey, let's keep everything down to a dull roar. Let's not get crazy. Let's not spend a ton of money. But,
keep your mistress quiet, family values.
yeah. And from the village, right? And the town. And, so I don't know.
Well, I loved that piece of audio because it made
it is nice.
Yeah, it made me feel that he had a good heart, and I know from everything I read that he did, and it's good for Spike to know that a Republican can have a good heart.
Hey, I know that. Did you find any tape on Charles Taft, his brother, Charles Black Sheep Taft, bluesman? Right?
Yeah. Blind Lemon Taft.
Blind Lemon Taft. Oh, that's great.
All right. So this isn't about him, but I did want to do the name dropping because we do name dropping Bob as it.
Bob. At the end of the day, that and $7 will get me a beer at the airport.
Right, at the airport. Yeah. Well, then you must be getting your beer half off. Anyway, back to who this is really about, which is you, Dudley. You're an incredible guitarist. Living in a time where music has been commoditized, record companies don't really exist in the form they used to. And these...
Nope.
That's your dog, right? Or whose dog?
Mine.
Oh,
that's mine.
All dogs say nope.
And you have given your life to being a musician. I mean, a working musician. You tour, you travel, you have a band. And... He's muting. You don't have to mute, but that's funny. No, it's like Spike used to actually do that on purpose. He used to go, ruff, 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 and now he's got a dog. So just a couple things. I want to hear your philosophy, why you're a musician, why you dedicated your whole life to that, and a little bit about how you play the guitar, what you do, like maybe your influences, but at the end of the day, after your influences, the influence is you, right? It's what you want to do to be unique.
Yeah. Oh God. All right. Well, it was something. I think I feel really lucky because when I was about 12, I just sort of latched on to the guitar, and it was sort of like an infection. It wasn't just like, oh, this is kind of fun. I'm going to do this. Man, guitar is really hard. Okay. And if you pick up somebody's shitty acoustic, which is normally where everybody starts, it's like trying to swing a bat with like two, like those heavy donuts on it. It's just like, I don't know why people like to do this, but the noise that it made was so amazing to me. And I don't know why. It just caught fire. And some of my friends were into sports and other things. But I also felt like in a way I didn't feel like, oh, I'm lucky I've found something. It was sort of like, well, I can't really play football because I'm scrawny and get my ass kicked. I'm not very fast. I'm not a good runner. Don't really give a shit about sports, really. And do I have to play? And I loved other things, music and culture and art and shit. And so it was easy for me to do it. But after a long time, decades of doing it, I realized I was lucky to have this thing sort of bite me. So, the thing was, okay, I wanted to be a rock star. I had these posters on my wall, Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page and Richie Blackmore and and it's like, I'm gonna do that, so but I guess it all starts out that way, right? Naive, motivation in your bedroom when you're 13 with a black light poster and a strobe light and shit, that's exactly where it was, And one thing I would like to point out to anyone that's listening to this that wasn't, a teenager in the late 70s, early 80s, there was no huge fire hose of, music, art, content. It just was not there. So anytime any album came out, it was a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
And so
it was like the TV had 3 networks, the record labels, there were, have 4 or 5 labels, and the releases every week would all like the releases would come from A&R guys who scouted out clubs, found bands, found people that were incredible, and then they would sign them to 5 album deals and develop them as an artist. I mean, it was a big deal. It was like a TV show being released or a movie coming out at the multiplex when the big album came out.
Yeah, and it was much harder to get your music in front of these people in the pipeline in any way, shape, or form as it is now.
Yeah.
So when, and there was maybe 2 good radio stations in town that you would listen to, or some dude down the street that had, that he would just always have the new album. He would wait in line or whatever. And it's like, dude, I got sticky fingers. Like, Mom, I'm going over there, smoke a joint and listen to fucking sticky fingers. First time. It was amazing.
It was a romantic time. It was rock and roll was what politics is today. It was what everybody talked about. And the rock stars set the cultural tone. And they wrote songs with lyrics that sometimes, were very much commentary on, I hope I die before I get old, my generation, for Dead in Ohio. I mean, to me anyway, the music was the culture.
Yeah, exactly. It was, you're right. That was a way for people to get their opinions out there. And certainly there were, a lot of songs about getting laid and stuff. But
I knew when you said that your first idea was let's do sports because I could be a jock and get lots of girls, that rock was your second choice as far as girls, right?
Well, it was lucky because it was nice early on to be the guitar player guy. But that's not why I did it. And you asked before like why I continue to do it, and I tried to give it up a few times, but
did you really? Tell me about that. Tell me about a little more about that.
Okay, well, so I was lucky to be in a band called Sweetwater. We got a record deal. We toured around the U.S. I played on stage with Alice in Chains. I did some amazing
Sweetwater
things.
Was huge.
Yeah, in Seattle, it was great and really didn't get the promotion it deserved from the record labels. And you could argue maybe we didn't have the songs, but it was a really good band. And but I was sort of the outsider there, so that didn't, that wasn't where.
How do you mean outsider? Like the lead singer songwriter was the big deal, and you were a sideman, or?
Well, all the guys in the band, grew up in Seattle. They all went to the Bush School.
Dudley wouldn't wear flannel. You refused to wear flannel.
No, the funny thing is, no, I'm telling you, the funny thing is, that's exactly what I wore in Indianapolis. I didn't know what fucking grunge was, but I would wear a solid color T-shirt and a flannel shirt and some jeans, and that was it. My uniform, just which color shirt with which flannel today, And it's just like, now this is grunge. It's like, that's what I wore in 1979 until I finally figured out tight shirts and bell bottoms, man. But
to anyone who doesn't know, by the way, that grunge, early 90s, Seattle, Sweetwater, like a bunch of other bands, Screaming Trees. Who's the band that Brad Sinsel was in?
TKO.
TKO. A bunch of bands got signed. Goodness, friends of ours. a bunch of bands got signed with this whole wave of big bands exploding from Seattle, and some of them didn't get any support. I think that's a valid point to make about
Yeah,
a lot
Green
of it.
Apple Quick Step got
Oh,
Yep.
held.
yeah. And
You
so
know?
you were a part of that scene, which must have felt like, rock dreams are coming true, because
That was cool. But
yeah.
once it got successful, then we all left and toured and went somewhere else. You know, there was
Right.
demand for us.
Right.
You know, and so we all left, and then it was weird coming home because people suddenly, musicians were saying, well, I want to be in a cool band. I'm going to move to Seattle. And so a lot of people came, and the scene really changed after a while. I was lucky enough to get involved with a band that got signed again in the late 90s, which was totally random, and that was Second Coming.
What another great band. I
And
remember Second Coming. Oh, that singer,
yeah,
what's his name?
Travis.
Travis. He
Yeah.
sang the most caffeine you've ever seen in Seattle. Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think he also did Asshole Son, Mow the Lawn. Is that Travis? That is
Yeah,
Travis. Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
rake away the leaves. Do you remember the next?
Yeah, mow the lawn, put the leaves away or something.
Put the leaves away. All right.
Yeah.
Hey man, I listened to all that shit. It was really
and I was just blessed to know you guys, because if we were doing a Twisted Tune, and I was like, well, we're not going to get Soundgarden to do this Twisted Tune, and Travis came over, and he was a little, if I may say, I loved him, and he was artistically brilliant. He seemed a little moody. Did it come with being in a grunge band? Ah! The better part of valor. Anyway,
it's more like the gravitational pull when you're the center of the universe. Makes it a little tough to interact with other humans.
So
you know
anyway,
what? Yeah, I have to just say, all respect to Travis. He's one of the most amazing singers and amazing songwriters, and I'm so proud of that record that we did together. And I love him like a brother.
So if people are going to Google you from this grunge era, they're going to Google they're going to Google Sweetwater and War Babies.
Second Coming.
Second Coming, excuse me.
Yeah. It's funny you keep bringing up Tommy
Gunn.
Yeah, Tommy Gunner's bands. And I'm good friends with Owen from My Sister's Machine.
Yeah.
And Tommy McMullen, and he was in TKO, and wasn't Evan Sheely in TKO too?
He was in G5.
I'm
sorry, Q5.
I think Evans played with you. I think I saw some video of him at the 99 Club with you. I was watching your videos all day today.
For a while. It was great.
All right.
Love Evan.
All right.
Okay, where are we going with this? Somebody.
Let me say something.
Let me finish the part that you didn't finish. You tried to get out of music, but it was in your blood. That's where we were going with that.
Oh God, yeah. And then I decided, okay, well, I'm going to take out a loan and buy a house and fix it up, because I had done some work in LA in construction, and I figured, well, okay, this can't be that hard, can it? So I bought a house on a Capitol Hill, and, a big house built in 1907, and I fixed it up, and then I tried to sell it in early 99, right when the kind of the tech crash hit. And so suddenly people with ginormous paydays weren't looking for $1 million plus houses. So I took a big bath on it. And that's when I realized, dude, you should just shut the fuck up and play guitar. Just fucking do it. That's when I started working at Bad Animals. I was actually called IQ Beats, and we did imaging music for radio stations and needle drop stuff and other custom stuff.
And how did you hear about Spike and the Impalers? Spike, you could take over now if you want to ask the question.
How Dudley. Go ahead, Dud.
I heard about it because I listened to your show all the time. I was a big fan, and I don't know if you remember, but you interviewed us in Sweetwater and Second Coming, and when we followed you all around the radio stations, KISW, KZOK, it was great. And you guys really, you and Spike and Joe and Eric and the whole crew, really a big part of, the morning dealio, because of course Seattle, you're gonna be stuck in your fucking car driving everywhere, and these guys are on, and you're fine, and so it was always so fun to be on it, and like, they need a guitar.
Yeah, we talked about it on the air. We needed a guitar player. That's right.
We had been making Twisted Tunes for about 10 years or so at that point. At least I had with Bob. Bob started much earlier than I, But Bob's like, we need to do this in front of people and start a band up, and we want to build it from the audience. And I mean, you want to talk about blessed? We got, the rhythm section of the Paul Rogers group, in Jeff and Lynn, Jeff Caith and Lynn Sorensen and Joe Shikani. And then we had auditions from the audience, and the other guys showed up from fucking Sweetwater and Second Coming. We're like, okay, we're done. Thanks, guys.
Plus a 16-year-old kid,
Ian Crawford,
who would end up in Panic at the Disco. So
we are a bunch of flamethrowers, man. It was amazing.
This podcast with how amazing luck has been to us about people like you coming into our lives.
Well, I mean, you guys, you attracted it like a pile of shit around a bunch of flies.
Yeah.
Or one of those bugs.
Or a campfire.
Mike, you go ahead for a bit. I know you
got
questions.
I just want to tell a quick story. We one of the first gigs we had, and Bob was so smart about starting a radio station band, because we got opening gigs for all these national touring acts. We need a little extra push, right? And I think Leonard Skinner was touring, and one of the first gigs we played was Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, we were there.
And they had sold 3,000 tickets in Spokane and 3,000 tickets in Portland. But when we could say, hey, we're opening for Leonard Skinner, we sold 7,000 tickets up in Everett. We got on stage as the opener and smoked the place. I mean, of course, we're opening for major national touring acts, but the promoters were.
Would you do me a favor, Spike? Would you
send my dog outside?
No, speak to Toto in Toto's language. I'd like to hear the two of you talk.
No, you're exactly right. And I remember that show vividly. And we were in some big hockey rink in Everett or something.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Center.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because they said they gave us you can go from between here and here on the stage, but don't go over there and don't go up on the risers. And we did our sound check, and Skinner's tour manager was like, "You guys can use as much of the stage as you want, man. Go wherever the hell you want." We really owned it. But we're talking about ZZ Top, and we're playing one night. We got to open for ZZ Top.
Were you in the band when we opened for ZZ Top?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was, because I remember Dudley's out front ripping up. I forget what we were playing. We weren't playing Waiting for the Bus. I know that, but you were doing something, just destroying this song. And I look over, and Billy Gibbons is on the side of the stage watching you play. His head shaking, his beard's wagging back and forth. I'm like, yes.
Oh, yeah. I forget all the people we got to open up for. Foreigner. Did we? Who else did we open up for?
Yeah, Foreigner. That was.
At Marymore. Yeah, Starship. We opened up for Ken Wayne Shepherd. And
the thing was that though, after that show where you guys realized you could sell a lot of tickets, well, fuck that. We're gonna play one of the casinos and we're gonna headline and make.
We actually, for a period of a good close to 10 years. The casinos knew that they could, instead of a $75 ticket for, a Paul Rogers or a Joe Cocker or Doobie Brothers, they could do a $25 ticket for the radio station audience. They could pay us relatively shit. But I can tell you now, at one point the band made, I think the high water mark was, and this is after the radio station got paid for the advertising, was $17,500 for a 90-minute set. And what we did back then, remember this, Spike? We gave it all to the musicians. We didn't take any money because we were getting paid for the radio. Later on, we thought better.
Hey guys, guess what my life is like now?
What's that?
Guess what my life is like now with my band?
I want to hear. All right, we're going to come back to you, but I also want to bring Zip into the
After
conversation.
This commercial break.
Yeah, no. Zip is here dearly beloved friend of mine. We're lifelong friends. He's an incredible musician, and I know he feels like this is old home for us. But Zip, you've played with some big names, and you know what Dudley is doing right now, touring the world. Like, where are you going to be? Denmark?
Actually, on Thursday, I'm leaving for Bosnia. I'm going to play a festival
Bosnia.
in Mostar,
Jeez.
Bosnia. I know. Weird, huh?
Zip, could you have ever done that tour? I mean, you're a good enough. He's a really good player. Trust me. He's very modest and very humble and very quiet, except when it's just him and me talking, and then he has to talk. But could you have toured as a musician for your whole life if that had gone that way?
Me?
No, I'm asking Zip because I'm trying to bring him in.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Ironically, it was running into you after one of the bands folded, because I had always wanted to do radio. And I kind of was a little burnout after 10 or 12 years, and $300, same $300 in my savings account for a decade and a half.
Which was doing well for a musician at the time.
It would have been fun.
You were in the Cooper Dodge band, right? And you had a hit. It was a small regional hit.
Yeah, that was the big record deal, Atco Records. Yeah,
on Atco Records. Yeah.
No, it was indeed.
So wait a minute. So,
and
in
it was
other
one of
words,
those
if I had
classic
run into Dudley, who wanted to be in radio, I would have killed his musical career like I killed yours. Is that what you're saying?
It's timing and luck. It really is. A lot of it's luck. So, are you doing blues now, Dud? Currently playing
Dudley
blues, original blues.
R&B? It's funny. It's like, is it fucking blues or not? I mean, maybe I'll get in trouble, but blues is a really old art form, and I don't see any point in doing just countless retreads of the same old shit. But blues, to me, has come to mean sort of a style, in a way, of rock and roll that I write, and some of my shit is, might actually be a blues progression, and maybe, that's a blues song, but most of it is not, and I don't really care to try to write a bunch of blues songs, but there is a built-in audience there, and it's nice, and it feels natural, because the shit I grew up listening to was all British Invasion and Southern rock, and some pop, I guess, American pop, but a lot of it was blues based. ZZ Top. I mean, Machine Head, Deep Purple. I mean, there's 3 just full on blues songs on there. And and Jimi Hendrix. It's all very bluesy, and that's a very comfortable space for me. Do I love to rock? Yes, I do. And I will do like Second Coming rock, heavy rock shit all fucking day long. But, it's hard to really kind of do both. And this is just a comfortable spot for me now.
All right. I am named.
Is it like
Bob,
festival?
Oh, yeah. You go ahead, Zip. I thought.
Is it festival type dates overseas?
Well, yeah, some festivals and some clubs, and not so many bars anymore, but that kind of stuff. Yeah. So this is a festival gig, and it's put on by this dude, and he has the greatest name, Dragon Nikitovich. It's just a great name. And he's this dude from Southern Germany, and he puts on like huge shows, like Celine Dion. He'll bring AC/DC to Paris or some crazy ass shit. And I've met him a few times, and he really likes blues rock guitar and lead guitar. And he came and hung out with me after some show in Saarbrücken, Germany, and he just called me up and said, "Hey man, about the show." Now it's like I'm not going to make any money because I'm going all the way out there, and for playing 1 hour. But it's like I need to be in this guy's wheelhouse and get more of these gigs, because if that was on a tour, then that would pay for a lot of the expense right there.
The travel, yeah, you get the travel gig.
Really, and I'm sort of like kind of like at the point where I'm, either aging in
Into
or-
being a blues guy.
or,
Yeah.
but it just takes it takes a long time in Europe, and especially Germany, to build a following. But I've kind of gotten this little nug that grows every year, and it's fun as hell to go over there and play. So I'm expanding into Spain this year, so that should be fun, hopefully.
When you do a tour over Europe, I know you put like 3 or 4 countries together, or and do you have to does that is what makes it monetarily worthwhile for you, or viable? Not worthwhile, but monetarily feasible to get over there and play a series to give you the big expenses getting there, then hopping around the continent for a couple months or so, play enough shows to make it worth your while to get there?
Yeah, that's the equation, and it's really tough. And honestly, for me, it's a labor of love, because unless I really, look, I've had raised a family, I had kids. I can't just go and be in a van and sleep on floors forever. I'm 57 now. Although I'm in good motherfucking shape, and I did 60 push-ups on my birthday, bitches.
I saw that, by the way. I saw that on
Wow.
your was it social
70
media?
last year if I wasn't on these fucking beta blockers for this.
Mhm.
Anyway, never mind. But what were we talking about?
It's nice to have you on.
Touring, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice
No,
to have
but-
you on a
Thank
fucking
you.
podcast, by the way, so you can
Yeah.
say fuck. I never knew you were actually that trash mouthy.
Well, I think some things need accentuating, Bob. And if you drop the F-bomb in at just the right fucking place, it makes sense. At least that's what my dad taught me. He didn't care for it, as long as you did it well.
All right, let me. I was going to do this thing.
Yeah.
I'm name dropping Bob, and I haven't dropped this name yet. But if you're looking at Dudley, you're looking at him in his home studio in Cincinnati. I won't give you the address. Very heavily secure, guard dogs, everything. Don't even think of it. But that studio is incredible. Is that an SSL or a Neve? What kind of console is that?
That's an SSL 4000E.
Ah, the E series.
It's a beauty.
That
it
is
is.
a beauty. Can I name drop who used
Yes,
to,
of course.
who used to own that studio? Another guy who picked up the guitar and has been a labor of love, and he's played guitar for a long time. Peter Frampton. That's the house you bought. Did you buy it from Peter, or was there an in-between owner?
No, I bought it from Peter, and it's funny because I've bought and sold a couple of houses over my lifetime, but I had more interaction with Peter as an owner than I've ever had with an owner of a house. And one of the reasons was we bought the house in the summer of 2013, and he was going to be on tour until the end of August, but we needed to get our kids in the house before August 15th, because that's when they start school around here. So we made a deal where I bought the house, but then he came in with all of his dudes and took all of his gear out of the studio. So he had all like so we're in the control room, but there's another room here where the drums are set up, and it's maybe a 15 by 15 room, and it's just full of amps. I mean, there was probably 35 to 40 tube amps in there.
So wait a minute, you built that studio? He took all the equipment out, or did you end up getting the equipment?
Well, no. So I purchased the board because these things are impossible to move. They just are. It's ridiculous. Forget it. It's an operation.
Bob knows. You put the board in, and you build the house around it.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. It's like getting a heart transplant. Maybe do it once if you're lucky. So
all right, so you bought the house from Peter Frampton. That's the console, but he had taken a bunch of stuff out, so you had to redo the studio, basically.
It's funny. Yeah, I did buy some gear from him, but I do have a lot of outboard gear because I've been doing this for a long time. But he left the couches and like 2 hand woven rugs from Nepal, and I'm like, are you gonna these tables and lamps, which are kind of nice in here? Are you gonna take this? He's like, no, comes with the studio. I'm like,
Wow.
all right, well,
Nice.
thanks, man.
So he was a good guy about all this.
He was a sweetheart,
Mm.
absolutely just a sweetheart. Even invited me to come see his new studio in Nashville. I had lunch with him. He played me a new song. I played him one of the songs I recorded here in between, the time I bought it and when I saw him. And it was just a real sweet guy. Invite me to come and sit in the friends and family section when he would come to Cincinnati. I mean, just, Uncle Pete, super, super fucking,
Nice.
Wow.
yeah. And, everyone, I mean, it's been too long now, but, even the first few years, he would send me a text, dude, send me a picture of how I mounted that thing on the wall over there. Oh, okay.
So
Or,
he still has an emotional connection, obviously.
oh,
to
I
that
think so,
beautiful
because
place.
this is a Dave Mattingly studio. And Dave Mattingly, not the guy from NPR. This guy designed studios that are in Blackbird and Nashville.
No, I've heard of him. Yeah.
And some other studios. This studio in Cincinnati is a real oddity, and it's a world-class studio in my freaking house. So how weird is that? So remember earlier, if you were listening, I left when I was 9, and I came back 37 years later. 30 anyway. I mean, that's a long fucking time. And I buy Peter Frampton's house.
Yeah.
How weird is this shit? No one wanted to buy this house
Oh,
for
of
over a
course.
year.
What is that ugly thing? How do we get it the fuck out of there? Yeah.
But it is on the hill. It's a little challenging, but it's totally off the grid. You cannot find this fucking place. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, the Secret Service has you surrounded if you should try. All right. I don't know. I don't know where to go with this, but I know where I want to end up, which is I want to play your song "Skin and Bones," and I'll play the whole thing if you want.
Sure. Oh,
Hey, let me ask a quick question before you move on it. Dudley, I know you still fly, right? You got your own plane, or
yes.
will you fly domestic tour? Do you ever fly to Europe to do a tour, or that's too far out?
No, that's too far to go in a small business jet.
Yeah.
In a small business jet, says Dudley, glancing at Bob, who had a small Cessna. And a smaller studio board, a little Trident 80B, but still fucking cool when we got to use it. Yeah. Now you got me saying fuck a lot.
Yeah. So quick story about the song. Okay.
Okay. Before we play the song. Yes.
Before you play the song. So my dad is who was also a pilot, plays banjo, really loves Dixieland music. So not the picking banjo, but the strum, that kind of shit. So New Orleans Dixieland. So he buys me this CD or DVD set of Ken Burns' jazz series, and at the wrong time in my life, I'm jazz, fuck jazz, I'm rock, man. And so finally, after I watched all of the Star Trek, first 3 seasons of the original series on my DVD on my treadmill in the new house, I'm like, well, I'll put on the fucking jazz thing. I watched them all, and it was amazing. And that's where this entire song came from. It's all about me learning about the history of jazz and rock music, ragtime gumbo, etc., and about New Orleans.
And you're in
we
New
shot
Orleans.
the video in New Orleans, so this one turned out pretty well.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Before I play it, so when you tour, literally all over the world, all over Europe and the United States, do you bring the same band everywhere you go? Do you fly a band around with you, or do you?
No, I've had to be flexible with that. The drummer thing, it was a joke. New drummer, new tour, but I started finding guys over in Europe, so we've had European drummers.
Randy Hansen does that too. He has a European band. He just meets them out there.
Completely European band. Yeah. So lately, we've been using a guy from London, and last guy was from London, and a guy was from Ireland, and they're just. I mean, there's They grow a lot of good drummers up there. Somehow it's the whiskey or something.
Could be that. Ladies and gentlemen, Dudley Taft. Dudley, I love the song. It's called Skin and Bones. Especially the chorus you have sounds like a Muscle Shoals kind of a thing. I think I mentioned that earlier, like Sweet Home Alabama. Are those, did you record all of this right behind your kitchen, right behind where you are right now?
Oh God! Oh, this is Skin and Bones. No, we recorded it all here.
Yeah,
In fact, I mixed that. And the shaker you hear on that, one is a bottle of baby aspirin, and the other is a bottle of Tylenol. So you'll hear it. It's like,
right.
That's a shaker. Nope, that's
Any
medicine.
final thoughts or questions, anybody, for Dudley before we play this? And if you want to check out his stuff, we'll put it all in the description. Of course, the bands, and you can go to dudleytaft.com and find anything you want. Yes, Spike, you got to unmute.
When you playing out here again, bud?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe January, February of next year.
Okay.
Like I did this time. That was fun.
All right. It's really awesome stuff, Dudley, and it's really cool to see all the cool stuff you're doing. Enjoy life. That's what it's about at this phase of life, right?
Yes, it is.
Skin
Get
and
the more
bones.
you can.
Okay.
Walk me down in the Bourbon Street, never know what you'll see. Hit St. Philip for drinking the beats to get your mojo going. Stars and rocks are sinking in. I can hear the saints come marching in. Gonna catch your boys. I like it down tight for some crazy shit in Snowyville tonight. Gumbo and the ragtime beat will get you up and moving your feet from bunny bowling and jelly roll, pushing the blues out of control. All out hurt, blowing the horn, all through the night to the early morn. Satchmo waiting on the riverboat, better pay my cellar or cut your throat. Infect me, New Orleans, can you hear a broken soul? Baby, I'm just killing bones. Got my fortune told, voodoo woman with the hoodoo glow. Hear the spirit of daddy rise, children of the melodies fill the night. A dirty lace with a painted face, looking like a letter from outer space. Follow me around with the colored bees, the funk of me to grace and sleep. Infect me, New Orleans, can you hear a broken soul? Baby, I'm just killing bones. Baby, I'm just killing bones. No matter how bad you find your life, and down here you know it'll be alright. Everywhere the music fills the night, wash away the dust of everyday life. Infect me, New Orleans, can you hear a broken soul? Don't leave me, New Orleans, can you hear my broken soul?
Dudley Taft. That's really awesome.
Nice.
Did you get in trouble for shooting on the street like that? They give you any grief? Nice.
Nope, not at all.
No one cares. No.
Love that.
I had one camera dude and a steady cam thing, and then another guy directing so he could back up or whatever. So
What time of day did you have to
all in
shoot?
one day, and those were all real drinks.
What time of day were you shoot when you got just you on the streets like that? I've never seen New Orleans that empty. Were you there at 4 a.m. or something?
No, we started it at we did it late in the year, so this was probably so the days were shorter, and we started probably at 6:30 with the sunlight
breakfast.
shots,
That's
and we
breakfast
shot
time.
till about 11.
Yeah.
And the the dudes that were the video guys are much younger than me, and they're like, "Let's keep going." I'm like, "No way, dude! I'm fucking hammered. I'm going back to the hotel." And so they gave me that selfie stick, and so some of the shots at the end with the GoPro was me staggering back to the hotel because those were all real drinks, and
Nice.
I'm not 23, but I can still hold it down with the best of them.
Mhm.
There you go.
I love your style of playing, Dudley. It's super sweet, super tasty, but kind of economical compared to what a lot of guitar players try to do. That's intentional, right?
I just think I developed my own vocabulary over the years. I just got back from a festival, okay, and so to your point, I watched a lot of guitar players playing jam bands, and I noticed that they play a lot of the same sort of things. And there's a joke about Emily's and Ernie's. Have you heard this one? Ernie.
Why don't you go grab the guitar? Go grab the guitar. You have the guitar, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
or Emily. All right.
Emily, I want to see Emily come out. Look, there he is. Okay, this will just be a second. Zip, let's pretend he can't hear you. Did you like that? Because you're a pretty good judge of music.
Oh, awesome. Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Excellent.
I know. I've always known how Dudley played, but listen to Dudley sing is pretty great because I know how hard he worked. I know how hard he has worked on vocals.
Oh, and
that's
they're so good.
amazing. Yeah, it really is.
All right.
Oh, hey, what's up?
How much do you smoke now to be able to sing like that? When did you take up cigarettes?
Now I don't smoke hardly anything. I smoke a little weed every now and then, but no, that. I don't know.
Okay.
I've learned. I trained from Sue Carr, who taught Lane took lessons from her, and
Chris Cornell lessons with her, and a lot of guys.
So she helped train you for vocals. All right, let's get back
She
to
taught me. She taught me how to do Brian Johnson.
How?
Sue Carr. Because remember when we started, I could do Bon Scott all day.
Here.
Yep. But I couldn't do Brian until she taught me.
What was the secret?
This is Ernie.
All right.
Okay. Ernie, and Emily. Emily. So it's I like guitar players play like that. And I have my own ways of getting around the neck, and I think that's what every guitar player should do is develop their own vocabulary.
Yeah.
Nice.
Give me something that's yours, and what name is it? Like Theodore?
Oh, I don't
what
know.
is it?
I don't know.
I got blisters on my fingers. Yes. Okay.
It's that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I like making weird noises, but also I really like melody, and sometimes it's more important to be able to than it is to be able to
Yeah.
We all grow up, buddy.
Dudley, Dudley, we're at the 1 hour mark. We're gonna wrap it up. It was really wonderful to catch up with you, and yes, and really just see, a few decades later, the life you're living back at the in the family compound,
The homestead, yes.
surrounded by Secret Service, and also just to make note of your heritage, which I think is it's a super cool thing, and enjoy traveling around the world. What I'm going to do now, the song that I cut off earlier, I'll play it in its entirety, because if you missed it at the beginning of the show, I let him do like a verse and a chorus, and then I cut him off, and he was like, I was about to play my lead.
The solo.
The solo.
My solos are my trademark.
All right, what's it called? Screaming in the what?
Screaming in the wind.
Screaming in the wind. All right, everybody. Good night. Dudley Taft.